Congress is sounding the alarm on the World Health Organization's failed COVID-19 response and its troubling ties to China. The agency's embattled director is coming under major fire, facing new pressure from lawmakers to testify before Congress and explain his relationship with the communist regime. The WHO has repeatedly praised China's transparency, despite Beijing's attempt to cover up the crisis. Here's President Trump on his threat to cut the funding.
Over the years, many years, we've been paying them from $300 to $500 and even more $1 million a year. China's been paying them less than 40, and they are very, very China-centric, as I said during the week, China-centric. China always seems to get the better of the argument, and I don't like that. We're going to be talking about that next week in great detail. We're looking at it very, very closely.
So, Dana, one of the things I found out was the relationship between China and Ethiopia, the country where Dr. Tedros, the chair of the WHO, came from. Mm-hmm. China groomed this guy, and China has been grooming Ethiopia almost like a colonial power dynamic for many, many years. Billion-dollar trade, billion-dollar investments in infrastructure and all sorts of deals, and they really wined and dined this guy. He was their top pick. America didn't want this guy. He was China's top pick. They got him, and it paid off.
So you're about to hear the train, by the way. Just so you know, it's not my stomach.
Choo-choo.
So here, you could actually go around the world right now because of China's aggressive investment into this Belt and Road Initiative. You can find people from all over the world who are basically in China's back pocket. Now, Dr. Tedros had been praised in the past by somebody like Dr. Fauci. So they've known each other for years. Maybe there is not a lot to see here, but it is suspicious. And especially because you look back to those cholera epidemics that you mentioned the other day, Jesse, that happened in Ethiopia, and there are questions about that. And a friend of mine who's former intelligence told me that he's super suspicious of all of this. I think that the president is a little bit like the boss who calls you on a Friday and says, make sure you come to my office at 10 a.m. Monday. I have something really important for you to talk about. And then you worry about it all weekend. Because what the president did right before the clip that you showed is he said, we're thinking about this, and next week we're going to make an announcement. And next week we're going to talk about what we're going to do with the funding for the WHO. And you just know that is going to ruin their weekend. And they're going to be worried about it all week. Here's one thing I would recommend. I think that you look at a global pandemic and you realize it's super important to have something like the World Health Organization so that we're all communicating with each other, stamping things out as soon as they get involved. But we can't just be involved with the money. We have to have a much more heavy hand involvement with Western societies and the United States. So I wouldn't necessarily cut back the funding. I would push ahead and make sure the United States has more influence.
Juan, what would you do if you were in charge? Because the WHO was saying things that just weren't scientific. They were saying masks don't work, travel bans don't work, this thing's not contagious. I mean, they're the World Health Organization. What do you do?
Well, I mean, I think, first of all, you don't want to politicize a pandemic. And I think the WHO plays an important role as we're trying to get international cooperation in dealing with this. We can't stop it in one corner and pretend oh, it's over, because if you have it all over the world, Jesse, you got to deal with it all over the world, and that's why you need a World Health Organization. I do think that China told lies, and I think they in some cases lied to the WHO, and the WHO then echoed those lies. So do I blame the WHO? To some extent, yes, but most of all, I blame China. And when you think about the WHO and the role that it's performed, I think things like the use of masks, even our experts here in the U.S. have changed their position on it. But the WHO said very clearly, when they declared there was a global pandemic, we, in this country, our president was saying, we can handle this, we got this under control. So you see, I mean, there's all kinds of finger pointing and blame games. As I've said to you on other topics, I'm not sure this is helpful as we try to come to terms with things. In the political arena, though, I think that you have people who want to point fingers and blame the WHO. I think they should maybe, go after China if you want to. China, fortunately, has so much of our debt and controls so much of
Yeah.
our manufacturing. Take a look at your iPhone. So it's hard to go after China. Maybe easier to pick on the WHO, but this is not the right time to do it.
Right. I mean, I believe both are culpable, but I would agree that China is more culpable. And Lindsey Graham agrees. Let's play Lindsey, and then you can react, Mr. Gutfeld.
The first thing I want to do is get the United States Senate on the record where we don't blame Trump, we blame China. The Chinese government's responsible for 16,000 American deaths and 17 million Americans being unemployed. It's the Chinese government and the way they behave that led to this pandemic.
Well, you know, I'm not interested that much in the blame component. I'm interested in the relationship between China and the World Health Organization, and then how we can modify it so it serves our needs. We know that essentially China is like a big business, and the World Health Organization is their press office. And so they're the public relation flacks who smooth over the oil spill, right? Or the accidental food poisoning, or the escaped virus, right? They're those catastrophic public relations agencies that are working on behalf of China. Now, we have no reason to doubt what they were doing because, hey, it's the World Health Organization. Anything with world as a prefix has to be good, right? World music, can't stand it. Anyway, so the solution for me, and again, it has nothing to do with picking on them, it's a constructive solution, is to take all the involuntary funding. I think I don't know how much it is. I know there's voluntary funding from private people, but take the other, give it to the people that are suffering, the small business. So, because the people that are being harmed by China and by relationship you know, you could sue China, or you could just take that money and funnel it to America's bar tab. Because that's what this is about. We need to pay America's bar tab when people come back so that they spend more money. That doesn't assign any blame. It just shifts a sum of money over to the victims who could really use it. That's my solution.
Emily, do you like the idea of WHO picking up our bar tab?
Yeah, I like the idea of anyone picking up our bar tab. I think that's great. I think the question that President Trump and the other world leaders are facing right now is, how do we compel China ever to play by the same rules as everybody else? You know, this is only one example of like 50 concurrent elements right now where their history of subversion and a lack of transparency has resulted in global negative results. And given their current issues with the environment and trade and wildlife, it's not as if this might not happen in the future again. And so I think moving forward, there needs to be some type of global consensus where there's a zero tolerance for them. So at least now there's sort of a conversation about it.
Yeah, well, apparently last night, Peter Navarro on Martha's show said that the United Nations have about 15 different little sub-agencies like the WHO, and China controls 5 out of the 15. So we have to figure a way to wrestle those away. All right, coming up.